So how do we kind of invest, and where do we kind of invest is a big question that comes to mind. And that is why I thought I will kind of touch upon the fund which I believe is probably best suited to kind of be invested in the current environment, given that risk is at a balance, because markets can kind of get impacted if this was to go the other side. At the same time, you have enough optimism built into the economy going forward. So that's where we believe a Canara Robeco Blue Chip Fund is what we believe is probably the one fund which is in the best position right now. This is one of our flagship funds, and it has this unique distinction of being probably only one of the few large cap funds who have been able to generate alpha over 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year period. It's very unique proposition that we have in this fund. There's always this debate that large cap funds are unable to beat benchmark, they are not able to create alpha, and hence we should move to passives. This is a unique fund in that category, which is able to generate alpha for a very long period of time. It's not just about 1 year or 3 years. And at the core of this alpha generation, we believe is the investment philosophy and the objective that we kind of follow across all our schemes. And so is the case with Canara Robeco Blue Chip Fund. Uh, just to give a brief background about how we go about doing our investments at Canara Robeco, as part of our philosophy, we believe that it is companies and not stocks that create wealth. What do I mean by that is the fact that stocks, or the stock prices rather, tend to be very volatile depending upon what is happening in the market, what is happening in the economy, what happens in global markets, whether there is a pandemic, where there is some liquidity, FIIs are selling, buying. So there is a lot of noise and a lot of volatility in the near term. However, that actually the stock prices actually don't impact what is happening in the companies, right? So it is actually the companies who grow, who compound, who invest, and kind of create more profits is what creates wealth, rather than the stock prices. Stock price is basically a mimicking of the what is happening in the near term, but in the medium to long term, it is basically the underlying companies that generate profits and grow. So that's what we are focusing on. Instead of looking at which stocks are going up and which stocks are going down, we tend to look at more which companies are growing and which companies are likely to grow faster than the market. And that's where our investment focus is. That is why if you look at it, the objective is to kind of invest in growth oriented businesses which are run by competent management and where valuations are reasonable. These are the three covenants which we generally look at in terms of our investment. uh, like I said, just to give you a better perspective of when that we look at companies and not stocks. If you look at Nifty as a portfolio of 50 large cap companies, right? Over the last 25 years, if you put it in a 5 year, 10 year bucket, and you will realize that the Nifty returns or the portfolio returns are exactly in line with the underlying earnings growth of that portfolio. So if you look at 2000 from 98 to 2005, or 2006 to 2014, or 15 to 20, any time period you pick up, and you will realize that while in a year markets tend to move up or low, and valuations kind of go up and down, when you look at it over a 5 year, 10 year horizon, the returns are exactly in line with what the underlying earnings growth of that portfolio is. This is something which is very interesting and very important to understand, that while creating a portfolio, if you are able to identify companies whose earnings growth are likely to be much higher than the market, you are likely to kind of create that alpha over the medium to long term. This is one of the most important aspects of our investment philosophy, which is what we kind of incorporate in all our funds. And that is probably one of the reasons why you see over a 3 year, 5 year horizon, we tend to create a lot of alpha for our investors. Similarly, when you look at high growth companies, those which are compounding their earnings and profits at a faster rate, what we've also observed is the fact that many companies tend to kind of leverage their balance sheet. They don't generate cash flows. They just borrow. They're dependent on the market to borrow either through debt or either through equity. and their ROE ROC profile, that is the return that they generate on the capital that they are invested in the market, in the business, are very low. They tend to kind of underperform in the medium to long term. So it is also not only important to have fast high growth companies, but it is also equally important to actually look for companies which also generate a decent return on capital, which helps them generate the capital for their own growth going forward. Just think about it. If you are investing in a company with very low ROE, low ROC, they will not be able to generate enough profits to reinvest in the business for them to grow going forward. So the only way they will be able to grow then is either to raise capital from the market or to borrow from the market. And those companies who actually are dependent from on outside markets for capital tend to be volatile and tend to be dependent on market cycles. So if you are in a bad cycle, you are a high growth company with a lot of leverage on balance sheet, will not able to borrow more, will actually fail. So not only do we look at high growth companies, but we also look at companies which are generating enough capital for their own growth sustain. So these are two very important filters for us in terms of our universe creation and our stock selection process: high growth and high ROC. Our investment process is very simple. It's something which we are very proud of. We follow it with a lot of discipline, because the process need not necessarily be very complicated. If it is simple and easy to implement, and we stick to that, we believe it is likely to create a lot of discipline in our investment approach. We follow a combination of a top-down and a bottom-up approach. What do I mean by that is, at the top, in the top-down approach, we generally look at macro indicators. Like I said, my presentation only started with what is happening globally, right? So that all forms part of the macro research, where what is happening globally, what are the emerging trends, what are the sectors that are likely to benefit from those trends. And then we do a bottom-up stock selection to marry whatever our top-down thought process is. The companies which are likely to benefit from the emerging themes and emerging trends and the sector, those are the companies that we look towards for our investment. Each company that we look from a bottom-up approach, we kind of analyze them on three key parameters. One is the business, one is the management, and on third is the valuation, because all three of them are equally important contributors of alpha over the medium to long term. So in business, we look at how robust the business is, how cyclical the business is, what are the growth aspects, what are the growth drivers, how sustainable the growth, sustainable and visible the growth metrics look like. In management, we generally look at the integrity of the management, the track record of the management, whether there are, how has the management been able to steer the company in terms of bad economic cycles, how much irrelevant diversifications are there, how much cash is there on the balance sheet which is diluting your return on capital. All of these aspects, we look at it in terms of the management. And as far as valuations are concerned, see, when you're looking at high quality businesses with high ROE, ROC, and very good management, it is unlikely that they are going to trade cheap. So the way to look at valuation is to create a framework, and as long as the valuations are reasonably within that framework, I think we are okay to invest in companies which are trading at a relatively higher multiple. Like I said, the stock selection criteria is the first and the most important is, of course, the business fundamentals. They have to be good. There is no compromise on the quality of the business that we are investing in. Management, no compromise at all. Valuation should be reasonable. Even if it means we are buying some companies which are expensive, we are fine with that. So all of this, when I look at it in terms of a large cap equity fund, Canara Robeco Blue Chip Equity Fund, like we call it, it's a proxy to the economy. We invest in the leaders of the we invest in the leaders of the economy. Because they reflect the growth in the economy and actually kind of exceeds the growth in the economy. They are probably one of the best companies to invest in. They define what the market is in itself. They have the advantage of economies of scale. They have advantages of cost. They have advantages in terms of access to better resources. They have competitive advantages. Their learning cycles are far better. So they are able to kind of navigate through pandemics like what we are experiencing right now much better. They have the ability to diversify their businesses much better than smaller younger companies. Of course, as I said, experience is there. They are far more resilient because during downtimes and during bad times their ability to survive is far higher, and hence the stock prices itself tend to be less volatile, and their balance sheets typically are very strong because of all these years of investments and returns that they have generated. So in a way, investing in blue chip equity fund is like investing in the country itself. The best of the best companies in the country in their sectors is what we generally look at in terms of uh, uh, investing, and the returns here will more or less marry the returns that the markets generate. The key advantage, I believe, is the relative stability of the portfolio. Stocks are less volatile, as I said. They are, and the kind of stocks that we generally look at, they are, as I said, high growth, high ROC, low leverage. They tend to be even more stable, so there is no volatility of the portfolio is far lower, and their ability to kind of weather bad economic cycles is far smoother. They're very low. The drawdowns are very low, as I said, because the balance sheets are stronger. Their companies have lower drawdowns during bad and small times, especially compared to mid and small cap companies, because their balance sheets are much more stronger. The management is far more capable, more experienced, and their ability to kind of weather bad environment is far better. And the big question that probably comes to mind is, they are already very large companies. How will they grow? But if you think about it, as I said, these companies are a reflection of the economy. India today is basically $2 trillion economy, and going by whatever projections that economists make, we are poised to be probably the top three or top two economies in the world, and that effectively means $2 trillion economy can easily become a $5 trillion economy, and probably $15 trillion economy. So I don't see market caps or size as a constraint at all. There is still a long runway for growth going forward, and as economy compounds, these companies will also compound with them. What are the characteristics of the portfolio? It is, as I said, high growth businesses which are able to create wealth over a long period of time, high return of capital, so that these growths are more sustainable and visible, and of course focusing on the intrinsic value, because valuations tend to be a little bit higher for these companies. What are the key drivers of the portfolio? Again, a high growth potential and market leadership. These are important aspects, because we would want the portfolios to compound over a medium to long term. Many sectors where the market leaders are there, but their growths are kind of are lower than the industry because of the size constraint. But there, in those sectors, we look at companies which can gain market share. The companies need to have high intrinsic value, otherwise, and healthy financials and management track record. The approach, this is the most important. How do we kind of go about creating the portfolio? We focus on three different parameters. We call it the compounders and alpha generators, or you can say leaders and challengers and emerging themes. So basically, leaders are the ones which have the highest market share in those industries with high ROE, ROC. Their ability to kind of drive the entire segment in the sector itself defines the sector and the segment, hence their growth kind of replicates in the industry growth. Many sectors and the industry growth itself is pretty decent, so then you are very happy buying the industry leaders in itself. The classic example that I can think of in this case is, like, for example, HDFC Bank in banking, or probably Asian Paints in the paint industry, or Infosys in IT. All of these companies are sector leaders, and and their growth defines the sector in itself, and they are doing pretty well for themselves. At the same time, many companies, many sectors, the sectors are not growing at a higher pace, but there are a lot of disruptions happening in the sector, and many companies which are not the leaders, but they are the challengers who are gaining market share and who are kind of growing at a faster rate. Those are also large cap. There are a lot of large cap companies in this challenger space. So that's where we invest. Almost 75 to 80% of the portfolio by default is in these two categories of companies, which are basically large cap companies by nature. And at the same time, we also invest in emerging themes. These are the 15-20% of the portfolio which is in the mid and small cap space, where we look at emerging themes which have multi-year of growth going forward for themselves. I can think of diagnostics chains, I can think of chemicals, I can think of gas utilities. Many of these are emerging sectors in the economy and have 15-20 years of growth runway ahead of them, but they are emerging and hence they are smaller in size. That is, but thankfully we have some leeway available for investing in these kind of companies as well. What is the benefit of this? Like I said, leaders will help you compound over the medium term. They will provide a lot of steadiness and stability in the portfolio. They will provide a lot of downside risk because these are less volatile. At the same time, challenges help us in getting that extra return, extra appreciation in the portfolio, higher earnings growth in the portfolio. And the emerging themes, given that it is a much smaller percentage of the portfolio, they kind of create the alpha over a medium to long term. So it's a balanced mix of compounding companies. My large part of the portfolio is the compounding companies with 60%, 70%, giving you that base return expectations of 12 to 15%. And then you have a mix of emerging companies and challengers who kind of add alpha towards on top of that. The portfolio design, of course, each portfolio is designed based on the investment thesis and investment objectives that are linked with. But here it is very important to understand that we have specific exclusion list where we do not invest in highly leveraged companies. We do not invest in questionable promoters. We do not invest in businesses that are actually dying, or they are kind of getting replaced by newer things. So those are kind of restrictions that we have while investing in these kind of companies. At the same time, we also have a very high focus on the risk management part of the portfolio, where while many of the large cap companies are liquid and liquidity is not a constraint, but at the same time, we don't want to, we run a well diversified portfolio. We do not run concentrated portfolio with stock and sector level limits being monitored on a regular basis. These are very important part of our risk management practices that we follow during the designing the portfolio. The risk reward matrix, as I said, it's a far less volatile portfolio and probably generate a little lower risk. But when I look at returns in adjusted for the risk that it takes, it offers a compelling investment opportunity for the investors. This is the portfolio snapshot. As I said, large companies which are market leaders are part of the portfolio, having a very high share of allocation to begin with. Market capitalization, as I said, 86% of the portfolio is large cap, 9% is mid cap, and 4% is small cap. It's a large cap diversified portfolio, a blend of growth and value, but tilt is more towards growth than value. The beta of the portfolio, as you see, is far lower than even the market. The turnovers are fairly low. It's a hallmark of Canara Robeco, where we generally tend to invest for the medium to long term, and we hold on to our shares for a very fairly long period of time. 0.5% turnover effectively means each company stays in the portfolio for at least 2 years. That is decent long term investment, I feel, is there in the portfolio. Returns, as you see, as I said, the portfolio has been able to generate alpha over 3-year, 5-year, 10-year period. It's remarkable how the fund has been able to create such kind of returns, where most of the people in the category have kind of not been able to meet benchmark as well. These are the SIP returns. Of course, 1 year is a little skewed because of the market movement, but even if you look at 3-year, 5-year, they are pretty good returns from a long-term perspective. So just to sum up, why you should invest in Canara Robeco Blue Chip, I feel it is a reflection. It's your ability to participate in the growth story. We believe India, of course, over the next 5 to 10 years, will continue to compound at probably the highest rate in the world, and that itself is a pretty decent growth to look for. Focus Blue Chip, investing in top 100 companies, leaders in the sector, high. I don't know. Sorry, excuse me. So leaders of the sector, low leverage on balance sheet, high ROE, ROCs mean compounding at a much higher rate, or buy and hold for a long period of time to get the returns.